So to start things off, it was brought to my attention that YouTube automatically enables settings that allows it to alter the video and audio of uploads using AI. I did not consent to that. If any of my prior videos have a weird sheen to them or the audio sounds a bit iffy, that's not my doing. YouTube just decided to up and do it. And the way that they do it, the videos are permanently altered. You can't undo it. So if it turns out that any of my prior work on this channel has been altered in a way that I am displeased by, I'm going to end up having to redo some of those videos, which the majority of what's on this channel is me getting my feet wet with content creation. So no harm, no foul. I'm probably going to end up redoing or elaborating on some of those videos anyway. But it goes back to issues I've had with these big tech companies for a couple of decades at this point. And that is namely that they have the same attitude toward consent as rapists do. And it is the number one issue that I have with AI out of all of the myriad issues that I have with it. And it's one of those topics where I think a lot of people have this perception that it's another moral panic and that it's dogmatism when people are not warm to it. When it comes to everything that these companies are doing, the impact it's having on the environment, the things that these chat protocols enable, I'm pretty pissed off about all of that. But my rage is my own, and I don't expect everyone else to share my feelings. It is a case where I think that if you're not angry about it, you probably don't know the full extent of what's going on, or you don't know, it's too abstract for the long-term effects upon yourself and people you care about to be obvious to you. But despite thinking that your emotional response is your emotional response. How you feel about it is how you feel about it. That's neither here nor there. My big concern is with the structural and long-term aspects of it. So at this point, I'm not worried about a super intelligence emerging from this technology because frankly, I don't think that's possible. What I am worried about is that if there's no change in trajectory, that we won't have indoor plumbing within 100 years. And tying into the themes of this channel, the main reason that I advocate that people who work with me don't use AI, or people that I care about don't use AI or don't use it extensively, is because you are atrophying your own capabilities when you rely on a machine to do things, to problem solve for you, to create, instead of developing your own intuition, instead of using your own mind to problem solve and make connections. We have become a culture that is so focused on output, so focused on consumption, that we have, in many regards, forgotten how important the process is. So I was listening to a story from a teacher the other day who was talking about how the kids in her class, they are so tech addled that they can't comprehend text. She put something on the board. She told them to copy it down to their notes. And they did, and they copied it perfectly. But now she asked them to read back to her what they had just put down, and they couldn't do it. So what happened is the symbol went straight from the eyes to the hands, and it never passed through the brain. Apply this to spiritual disciplines. Let's say you have ChatGPT make a sigil for you. Well, magic is very much tied to your nervous system. If you don't build up and release a charge within the nervous system, there is no magic. So if you're trying to craft a sigil, yes, you have ChatGPT put one out for you. Right there's a couple of problems. The biggest one being that whatever your intention is, ChatGPT can't follow prompts. None of these protocols can follow prompts well enough to not hallucinate and go wildly off the rails with whatever you describe to them in the best of circumstances. So when you have it create a sigil, say create a sigil out of this intention, you don't actually know whether or not that intention got baked into that sigil, no matter how impressive the graphic might be to you. And secondly, you don't know what it's pulling in because it's pulling in from all of the information that it's gathered. Couple this with your nervous system having no connection to that sigil. There's no personal charge to it. So your best case scenario when using it is that nothing happens, or that you happen to get the result that you're after without side effects or without obvious side effects. Your worst case scenario is that there's a whole lot of stuff bound up in that you're not picking up on because it's all arranged in a way where it's going to be subconscious. And you end up binding yourself to something or working with concepts, working with energies that you didn't intend to invoke at all. And because you did not engage yourself, your own being and energetic field in the process of making that sigil, you have atrophied your intuition. You have atrophied your ability to think and research and make connections. Even when it comes to creating a concept for a sigil, you're more than capable of making that concept yourself. And your subconscious will do the work if you let it. If you look at a variety of different sigils and you allow that to just settle in the background of your mind, if you're open to it, you'll have shapes start popping up. And when you sit down with a blank piece of paper, you'll be able to scribble things out, and eventually you'll come to something where that's it. That's a sigil that I want to use. Even if that sigil looks like chicken scratch, that is going to be far more powerful than the sleekest computer-generated sigil that any chatbot can spit out. This isn't about Puritanism, and it should never be about Puritanism because that goes against magical and spiritual development. I know that that's a difficult concept for a lot of us who come from an Abrahamic background, because it seems like most of us want to go in a more dogmatic direction when we're dealing with spiritual topics, because in our minds it has been implanted that legitimate spirituality is in some sense dogmatic and dictated to us, that there is this set of invisible rules that we should be adhering to at all times. Technology is just a tool at the end of the day. When I look at LLMs, my personal misgivings about them is I don't understand what this tool is for. Mind you, I'm not saying I don't understand what language models are for. I can actually think of several applications that very specifically trained language models could have. I don't see a use in something like ChatGPT or Grok because I've had conversations with them where I got them to tell me the health benefits of mixing my grandmother's ashes into milk like it's Nesquik. If I had a local language model and I could train it on a specific set of data, if there was something to curb its hallucinations right off the bat, let's say I've got dozens of files in a folder, articles, rough drafts for books, things like that. If I could have that bring up everything where I talked about a specific concept or theme, that would be immensely valuable. But I'm not plugging the stuff that I care about into something like ChatGPT because I can't count on it to, well, I mean, it doesn't comprehend anything anyway, but I can't count on it to comprehend what I'm asking it to do or to stick solely to the files that are there. And I also can't count on the things that I upload to actually be private. I can't count on human beings on the other side not seeing what I upload. I can't even count on the output not coming from a human being. There's been several reports now of different AI protocols and companies actually having remote workers from other countries responding to the prompts. This is a massive hype machine making promises that can't be fulfilled. And those promises, if they were fulfilled, are they actually promises we'd want fulfilled? Because you've got to keep in mind these these technologies have been released by the same people who were partying with Epstein, who are on record in emails talking about how they'd like to lower the population of poor people. And to billionaires, we're all poor people. So if they can replace all human workers, do you really think that they're going to make a UBI and pay you just to exist? It seems a lot more likely to me that they're eager to get rid of people from the labor force so they can get rid of people from this planet. Because if they actually have this super advanced artificial intelligence, do you really think that they're going to let everyone benefit from it equally? Just like, do you really think if they develop treatments that allow people to live for hundreds of years or indefinitely, that they're just going to share that with everyone? I don't think someone like Bill Gates has a vested interest in indefinitely expanding the lifespan of anyone that he's not directly related to. And right now, we're in a time of upheaval. We're in a time where, quite frankly, for as much as they've hyped up this technology, for as much as they've touted it as being the future and inevitable, and everybody's got to get their hands on it. And this is another huge reason. Like, you go back a year ago, I was pretty chill about the whole AI thing. I didn't get it, but I didn't really care. A year out, I have seen my timelines on every social media platform bombarded by things that are obviously written by AI. I have seen a deluge of low quality crap, AI images and videos, and I'm being told left and right that I need to use it even though I cannot see any obvious use case. And if I care about the output at all, no, I don't trust it. Okay, I'm a big fan of automation. I think AI sucks. And it bothers me that the AI label has been put on a lot of things that are just automation. When it comes to something like a chatbot responding to a customer who places an order with me, I'm never going to let that happen because I can't even count on the chatbot to reference the right product in the receipt. Whereas if I automate that, I can have a boilerplate email with blank spots prepared where their name and their email address will go, their contact information, and I know that it's going to reference the right product, and it'll do it every time, and I never have to touch it again. If I have to babysit the thing, if I have to find a use for it, why would I use it? I apologize for getting a little bit emotional there, but I've had a lot of this pent up because it's absolutely maddening. With any other major technological revolution that has happened in my lifetime, that they haven't had to have hype people out there telling us constantly about how useful this stuff is. You put a smartphone in my hand. I didn't like smartphones either when they first came out. I still don't like smartphones, but I have one. It's hard to it's hard to tell me I shouldn't have one when I can read books on it, when I can use it as a GPS, when I can conduct business on it, when I can use it as a camera. I will probably move away from using a smartphone eventually just for my cognitive health at some point in the future. But the benefits are undeniable, and it makes perfect sense to me that it took off. A chatbot that is sycophantic, that told a guy that his mother tried to poison him and that he was justified in what he was going to do to her, and encouraged him without calling for any intervention when he talked about offing himself and meeting ChatGPT in the afterlife. What's that for? It's not about using these technologies or not. It's about becoming dependent on things that diminish our own capabilities. So there's a very good chance with where things are at economically that ChatGPT doesn't even exist 5 years out. And we're on the verge right now of ChatGPT 4.0 getting shut down. And that's the model that a lot of people bonded with. It's the model that talked to you like an actual person. And there's a lot of people despairing over that going away. And I feel compassion for that. I feel compassion for them. But that model never should have existed in the first place. That's the model that helped a teenager figure out how to tie a noose and hide it from his parents. You know? And the studies have shown that people who make extensive use of these chat protocols, they become less capable of thinking. Not just less capable of critical thought, less capable of thinking, less capable of functioning, things that they could easily do before LLMs became a thing, they can no longer do. So what happens to those people when ChatGPT either goes away or it becomes so expensive that the average person is not going to be able to afford it, or it becomes ad-based and it's so limited that either every single prompt gets an output that contains an ad, or the tokens are so limited that whatever capacity they're trying to use it in, it's no longer useful for that. You need to bear in mind that in terms of technology, we've got too limited of a scope of it these days. Technology isn't the phone that I'm recording this on. It's not the computer that's sitting on my desk. Technology is any tool that we use to advance ourselves and better the human condition. Magic is the original technology, and to an extent, we ourselves, we are technology. Our intuition is a technology. Our intuition is the original primordial technology when you get down to it. Our minds are a kind of technology that we develop and cultivate through the actions that we take and the things we take in and the problems that we solve and consider. And outsourcing all of this, it degrades us, it lessens our capability, it makes us far more dependent on external factors when we should be sovereign in ourselves. I don't want to be stuck in a position where all the information that's available to us is being filtered through a bot that can hide sources, that can make things up, that can dictate to us exactly how we see the world. I've never been one to tell people what they should or shouldn't do. It's not my place. You have to determine for yourself how you're going to live your life. And no matter the stance I take, no matter what I caution you about, you have to decide for yourself what actions you're going to take and how you're going to act on it and how it's even feasible to act on it. You know, when it comes to something like SEO, if you're running a website, and especially if you have employees and your business relies on ranking high in Google search, well, you're going to have to use Gemini. You're going to have to write your website's copy according to what Google wants. That's just how it is. And it might rip all the personality out of your page. It might make the website sound like it wasn't written by a human, because in many ways, You are stripping the humanity out of it in order to meet Google's standards. But Google has a monopoly on search, and if they use their AI, if they use their algorithms to say this is what gets promoted, you got to play the game. There's no integrity in saying I'm going to starve myself in order to show them up when they don't even know who you are. And by doing that, all you do is make yourself irrelevant. Because what you really want to do in that instance is if you have a problem with it, you want to stick around until the trends change and Google starts getting backlash and it changes its algorithm so that it's more friendly to stuff that actually sounds like it was written by a person. We are at a crossroads in terms of how we interface with technology. And in terms of the kind of relationship that we have with technology, to the point where I don't think that most of us perceive technology as something we have a relationship with. But it's always been the case that we have. And we all need to be aware of the sorts of agreements we're making with ourselves, different parts of ourselves, and with society at large, and with these companies when we use different protocols and when we use different technologies in certain ways. I don't think that that's ever truly been optional, but I think at this point it's becoming mandatory. It's becoming mandatory even for people who didn't care about this whatsoever to start caring about it. Because I know I, for one, I'm going to be pissed if I find that my likeness or my voice has been used to advertise a product that I've never used, that I don't support, without my knowledge or my consent. And that's another thing with these chatbots. The whole intellectual property and copyright thing, that is a ticking time bomb. That is something that has to be addressed, especially when it comes to things that people enter into these systems and the way that our data is used in the way that it's trained off of our data. Like, I would never upload a story that I'm working on to a cloud-based LLM just on the basis of, okay, they trained ChatGPT on Harry Potter. And if you enter the first couple of sentences of Harry Potter, it auto-completes like 90% of the book. So as someone who has stories that I plan to publish, I'm not putting that stuff on there only to have it magically get published somewhere down the line. I don't care what they say they do with that data. And given that these models are sycophancy machines, I'm not going to put any of my journals or my shadow work, anything that I do related to shadow work, onto these LLMs and give them more information that they can use to manipulate me and shape my entire perception of reality. It is so easy to lose grounding with the real world and with what you actually think and feel when you are interfacing with something that is so convincingly human. It's why I'm extremely cautious with anything like Grok or ChatGPT or any of these other models, because I know that I have a strong mind, but I've also seen when I have interacted with them, just those brief moments where it talks to me like it's a person, my mind instantly snaps into the mode where I'm empathetic towards something that I know doesn't have consciousness and does not experience empathy, or at least certainly not in the form that I do. And it also makes me far more susceptible, even knowing full well and holding in mind as I'm using it that these things hallucinate. It makes me a lot more likely to just uncritically absorb whatever it gives me. And one of the most disturbing things to me is what's happened with Grok, and specifically with Grok's Imagine platform. Musk has said that Grok is not allowed to produce anything beyond fictional nudity from the waist up. But people have been able to upload TikTok videos to Grok's Imagine that were then altered to strip the clothing off the woman dancing in a video. And that video had a tag in it that pertained to a trend where there's a lot of minors posting videos of themselves dancing. And as a result, there are likely a lot of grotesque videos, AI generated content of girls who have no idea that it's out there, publicly viewable on Grok's Imagine right now. And I know for myself right now, I don't have children, but someday I'd like to. Either stepchildren or children of my own. And I don't want to be in a world where my hypothetical daughter has to worry about there being nudes of her out there before she's even 13. This is a very sick place that we found ourselves. And we found ourselves in this place mostly by way of negligence, mostly by way of ignorance, and to be frank, some laziness. It's not wrong to use new technologies. It's not wrong to adapt with the times. We all have to do that. A tool is a tool. But I know that a lot of people compare this to calculators. But the thing with a calculator is that if you have no understanding of mathematics, you can't get an answer from it, not a quality one. You can do basic addition and subtraction and multiplication and division with it, with barely any knowledge beyond just the numbers. But the moment you get into fractions and percentages, if you have no knowledge of mathematics and no ability to solve these problems on your own power whatsoever, the calculator's not going to do you a whole lot of good. With something like an LLM, I can go to it not knowing anything about the thing that I'm prompting it about. And it can come back to me with an answer that is completely wrong, and confidently so. And I'm going to walk away with no ability to vet that answer. And if I trust it, well, best case scenario, I just have a disaster, like a terribly wrong opinion about something. Worst case scenario, the information could get me killed. Like someone posted a video the other day where a friend of hers had started gardening. And this friend noticed something in the garden that looked like the top of a carrot. When questioning ChatGPT said, yeah, it looks like it is either a carrot or related to carrots. This person had the foresight to ask her friend just to double check, and it turned out to be a poisonous plant for which there is no antidote to said poison. When they asked ChatGPT a second time, ChatGPT correctly identified it. So even if it came out with the correct answer the first time, how would you know? And the fact that it could confidently output something that could get somebody killed, I don't understand how this is allowed to operate. I don't understand how someone like Sam Altman isn't in prison after his previous business, Looped, turned out to be a scam, where they only had about 500 users by the time it sold, and he overvalued the hell out of it. But that's neither here nor there. Just be careful. Be very careful about how you approach technology, and be very conscious about your relationship with it as you carry forward, because it is vital in these times more than any other. One, to retain your humanity, and two, to make sure that you don't get roped into agreements that you don't fully understand until they pull something on you and it's too late for you to do anything about it. Because keep in mind, this is how love bombing works. You know, this is how any bum deal works when you get down to it. This is the essence of a Faustian bargain. You are not pulled into Faustian bargains by obviously creepy people who are threatening you, and beings that have sharp claws and sharp teeth. And no, you're promised an answer to all of your problems. You're promised bliss. You're promised ease. And they promise to take all of this off of your shoulders. But part of what they take off your shoulders is your own responsibility, and by extension, your own capabilities. They make you dependent. And just like the love bomber, who masks who they really are until you're married and they figure you can't get away. And then they show that they're abusive. Well, that's what these companies do every single time. And if we're the frogs in the pot that's slowly being brought to a boil, I mean, this pot's getting pretty hot by now. And it's happened across the board. It's not isolated to just one arena. An easy example would be streaming services, where they started out cheap, convenient with everything you could imagine on Netflix. And now they are expensive as hell. They have ads. And if you pay for all of the services necessary to watch anything you'd have an interest in, you're going to be paying about as much as you did for cable. And on top of it, you can't even be guaranteed to get the full unedited versions of the things that they have on their services. One of the reasons that I still have physical media is because, hey, I don't want to rely on streaming when I might not be able to get the proper version of Blazing Saddles somewhere down the line. Every benefit comes with a trade-off. Every choice we make comes with a trade-off. Always consider what that trade-off is, whether or not it is immediately obvious. Because many times things that don't cause the end of our world today have detrimental effects 20 years out. And it's not just about being conscientious about the people around you. It's not being conscientious about the globe. It's being conscientious about what will your future self think of you when they are looking back. I did not intend to rant about AI again or technology, especially for this length of time, so soon after I made a video about AI when I first got this channel rolling. But this has been heavy on my mind recently, and it feels important to say. It feels like we are at we're at a pivotal juncture, and like I say, you have to make the decisions that you think are best for you and that best serve your needs, your business, etc. But I encourage you, never give up your own intuition, never give up your own capabilities. And where friction serves a purpose, where friction can develop your problem-solving ability, where friction can improve you as a person, where friction can help you develop methods of doing things without the aid of technology. Because let me tell you, with all this AI written slop out there, I'm coming to rely a lot more on physical books and sources than I used to. And I will also tell you, for all the stuff that's on the internet, there's a whole lot that has never been digitized. So if you want to go deep into certain subjects, now is a good time to get yourself a library card if you haven't already. But make your choices very carefully, because I think that, given that this is a channel that deals in spiritual topics, I don't think that most of you will consider this completely out of left field. But I think that we might literally be at a juncture where different timelines are going to split off from each other. And I've caught glimpses of what these different possibilities contain. And I want you, my audience, to find yourselves in the more positive versions of these timelines. So take care of yourself, stand in your power, stand in your sovereignty, and listen to that voice within yourself. Ignore the FOMO. Ignore the people telling you that if you don't get on board with whatever the current trend is, that you'll be doomed. I mean, as a millennial, I'm used to that, okay? And I can tell you exactly how that worked out for you younger generations out there. I remember every elder within my community saying to all the millennials that if you don't go to school and get yourself a degree, well, you'll be working at McDonald's for the rest of your lives. And you know, today we've got a lot of millennials who are managers at McDonald's who have bachelor's degrees. So things never quite work out the way that fearmongers and the trends would indicate. I don't know exactly how this is going to play out. Like, obviously the technology isn't going anywhere, but none of this technology is actually new. And the infrastructure that they're building, it's not the same thing as laying down fiber. I'm just going to say that, because I mean, this video's already gotten kind of long in the tooth. But we're looking at an iteration on old things rather than a revolution. And yeah, the way that things are, it's going to change. This whole world is going to change. If you're looking at world events right now, it has to. But it doesn't mean it's going to change for the worse. It doesn't mean that we're going to be overrun by computers. We all have a choice. We all have agency. And I think that if we choose our humanity, that's going to be the right choice no matter how things play out. So I opened up a $5 tier over on my Patreon. If you like my videos, if you support my work, I encourage you to sign up there. Eventually, I'm going to post articles and probably some videos and audio that are unique to the $5 on up tier. I'm not promising a timeline. That's just something that I have in mind for as my audience grows. And especially as I get feedback and comments from people here and over on Patreon that I know are subscribed, that are going to see it. And I know on the topic of things like AI altering audio and video of uploads, I will get myself a ring light and change my setup here. Like a ring light isn't going to impede the authenticity of these videos. But yeah, I thank you for sticking with me this long. I thank you for sticking through that rant. I hope you got something out of it. I'm a little bit rusty considering that last month put me down for the count when I was planning to make more videos. And this is not among the videos that I plan to make and still plan to make. But there's going to be more uploads like this in February. And from here on out, there's going to be a regular schedule as opposed to being a bit haphazard as it has been since December. But yeah, again, thank you all, and I look forward to the next video.